Welcome back, In Pursuit 360. Today we're going to talk about the one thing that is guaranteed to get you fired as a law enforcement officer. All right, here we go. The one thing that's going to guarantee to get you fired from a law enforcement officer is domestic violence. No, not guaranteed. There is that chance. So if you are an active law enforcement officer and you're involved in a domestic dispute and you are charged, you cannot carry a weapon. So you will probably be placed on some kind of administrative leave from your agency, or you will be placed on some kind of a light duty status until the outcome of the investigation. Not only will there be the initial investigation by whatever agency actually responded to the call involving the possible or alleged domestic violence, but they will also do an internal investigation, internal affairs, professional standards, whatever your agency may call it. They will investigate, and if it's determined that it was a wrongful allegation, which does tend to happen in our profession, sometimes our spouses get a little upset with us and they will make an accusation knowing that it's going to get us in trouble, and it goes from there. If you're found guilty, yes, that will get you fired from law enforcement, because if you're found guilty, you can't possess a firearm. Can't possess a firearm, can't be a cop. So out you go. Or they may reassign you to something else for a while and see how it turns out or whatever, but you will not be working the street. But that's not the number one thing that's going to get you fired. How about a DUI? That can get you fired, but it's not guaranteed to get you fired. Really depends on how everything goes. So if you do get pulled over, it's not like the old school days, like back probably the 60s, maybe even the 70s, maybe early 80s. Law enforcement officer pulls somebody over for a suspected DUI and find out that they're a cop, and it's like, oh, you know what, buddy, don't worry, I'll take you home. Those days are gone in a lot of places, almost most places anymore, because the idea of making that mistake or that misjudgment and getting caught driving DUI, and somebody taking you home or letting you off, what happens later on down the road when they're in court testifying in a DUI case and that defense attorney says, so have you pulled any cops over for DUI? Well, you're under oath. Yes, I have. Did you arrest them, or did you give them a warning, or did you take them home, or what? How did you handle that? And what does that have to do with the case? The prosecutor will say, he'll file an objection in there. And the defense attorney is going to say, it has to do with the officer's integrity. Does he handle all of his DUIs pretty much the same, or does he give favors, right? And so then you're going to get caught. And if you've given somebody a break, you're going to have to tell them, yes, I have given a break. And then, of course, every DUI you ever have is going to be in trouble, because you can't treat one member of society one way, but then your buddy's another. If you make that decision to go out and drink and drive, there may be a price to pay, and you've got to be prepared for that. That is another situation where they are going to probably temporarily suspend you or put you on admin leave. They will do an internal investigation, and based on the way you answer the questions that come up and the actions that you take are really going to determine the outcome, whether or not you get to keep your job. There are law enforcement officers that have gotten DUIs that have continued to be law enforcement officers. So that you can get a restricted license from the judge. A lot of times what happens is it turns out the law enforcement officer has some other issues going on, whether they be issues at home, medical issues, or quite honestly PTSD, and they're using the alcohol as they're self-treating. And if you're honest about what is going on in your life, why you think you may have fallen into that trap, as an example, alcohol abuse, and you go get help for that, and they see that you're trying to get help for that, and it seems like it was an honest mistake, and you're honest with them, they may very well let you continue in your career. May take a little time to get back on the street, but it's amazing what they are willing to forgive as long as you are honest with them and upfront and willing to seek help in making sure that you don't repeat that behavior again. All right, so DUI may not get you fired. Domestic violence or being charged with the domestic may not get you fired. So what is the one thing guaranteed that will get you fired from a law enforcement career? You ready? Lying. You noticed in those first two things I talked about being honest, integrity. You've got to be honest about what's going on. If you're asked a question, you need to answer it honestly. Did you do whatever? The best thing I can do, let me give you an example. We had a deputy, worked a midnight shift, got off work, lived in an apartment complex. We had take-home cruisers. Took his cruiser, went to back it into a space and accidentally backed into another car that was parked there. Put a dent in it. Now, instead of calling his supervisor and reporting it and putting a note on the person's car, this guy decided he was going to take his car, move it down to the other end of the parking lot, and park it and not say a word to anybody. He went in and went to bed. Well, in the morning, the car, later on that morning, when the car that got hit, the driver came out, saw their car, called the sheriff's office for a hit and run. Hey, somebody hit my car. We go out, start talking to him. Well, it just so happens that somebody that lived in the apartment building was sitting out on their balcony having coffee and saw the deputy hit the car and then move his car. Well, that witness came downstairs. Oh, wait a minute, let me back up. They thought that the deputy might have been involved in it, so they called him down. They said, hey, were you by chance involved in this? Did you? Because there was brown paint transfer on the car. You know, were you involved in this? No, I didn't hit that car. Are you sure you didn't hit that car backing in or anything? You know, maybe you didn't feel. No, I didn't hit that car. There's no way. I went and parked over there. I didn't have anything to do with it. Well, now the witness came down and said, hey, that deputy's cruiser right down over there, that's the one that hit that car. There was a witness. There was damage on the cruiser. There was paint transfer on both vehicles. He got caught. He lied. He got fired that day. That morning, called into the office, give me your badge, give me your gun, turn in the rest of your gear, you're done. That's it. That quick. Don't lie. Whatever you do, don't lie. Another good example, election party. One of the deputies had a drinking issue, didn't know he had an issue or it wasn't acknowledged yet. Things got a little carried away at the election party and this deputy got a little overly friendly, if you will, with a female. It just so happened to be another deputy's wife. Complaint was filed. The deputy was brought in, was talked to, and he acknowledged that he was definitely drunk when he did what he did, and that it seemed to be what was becoming a common theme with the alcohol. He went and sought counseling. He got help. He quit drinking. He continued his career, was a supervisor, ended up moving up into the ranks into the command staff before he ended up moving on to another career. So you can overcome anything if you're honest. Well, almost anything, if you're honest. As soon as you lie, you are done. You can no longer be trusted. You can no longer testify in court. Have you ever noticed that if you've ever been in a courtroom and you've heard an officer testifying in a case and the alleged person or the accused person is saying, I didn't do it, that's not what I said, and the officer or the deputy is saying, Your Honor, on this date, this is what happened, this is what I saw, this is what they said. And they're like, no, I didn't, and they find them guilty anyway. It's because law enforcement is given that benefit of the doubt that what they are saying is absolutely true. That's why integrity is so important. And once you get caught lying, Giglio, it's a court case called Giglio that comes into effect, and you can no longer be trusted. Your word against anybody else's means absolutely nothing. Zip. Your career is done. And in Virginia, if they decide that they are going to Giglio you, they will pull your law enforcement certification, and I can guarantee you, you will never get another law enforcement job in the country ever again. Ever. Don't get Giglio'd. Don't lie. Be honest. So, that is the one thing guaranteed to get you fired from law enforcement in a heartbeat. In a sheriff's office, it's that fast, in a second. Police departments tend to take a little bit longer. They'll do IA investigations and that kind of thing. Federal agencies, they're even a little bit longer than that, because they're Giglio, and they like to use the words lack of candor, which really doesn't mean you lied. It means that maybe you omitted things to make it sound better for you. So they tend not to use Giglio as much. They like to use lack of candor, but it doesn't matter. Either way, across the board, lying is bad. Lying will get you fired quick. All right? So, subscribe to the channel. Give me some comments down below. Smash that like button for me. And let me know what else you'd like to hear about on In Pursuit 360. Stay safe out there.